Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical updates. Today we also gonna look at some interesting stocks that has been moving the past few days. We will start looking at Nasdaq, however, that moved higher, very close to 16,000 and closing in on an all-time high. We are less than 1,000 points from all-time high at 16,765. Trading in this fairly narrow channel here. There's no divergence on the weekly RSI. It's very close to be cancelled on the daily RSI also, and I believe we will see that, of course, depending on what's going to happen with all the earnings coming in left, right, and center here in the next 1 to 2 weeks. We have S&P 500 that did test the 45-46, actually closed above the 45-46 resistance level, and there is room up to 46-37 around that spike back there to in Q1, Q2 last year, but also very strong uptrend. The RSI also in bullish mode and very close on the daily, also to break above its peak here, as you can see. A close above this horizontal black line here, and then also the divergence on the daily RSI has been cancelled. And some of the other interesting indices I will have a look at today. We are going to look at the Dow Jones that also propelled higher, finally broke this kind of sideways range, deadlock, if you will, moving higher towards 35,492 in an uptrend. We would like to see the weekly RSI above 60, but I bet you, I think we'll see here in the next couple of days. You can see on the daily it's above 60, back above, and there's currently no divergence. So 35,294 is likely to be tested to 35,492 around that level here within the next couple of days. And just a quick look at the VIX here. The VIX dropping lower. There's some support around 1240, but I mean it's not that easy to do technical analysis on the VIX. It is the underlying market, so to speak, that we need to look at. But it's interesting to see we are back to where we were in 2018, 2019 on VIX. Looking at some of the equities or stocks that has been moving the market higher, we have Tesla that is reporting earnings in the aftermarket today, so we're going to deeper into that tomorrow in a fairly strong uptrend. However, there is short-term some massive divergence on the RSI, but the trend is your friend, and trend is currently up. Strong resistance around 313 here on the weekly, and there's no divergence on the RSI on the weekly. So I believe we could see quite a volatile market tomorrow after earnings without knowing what's really going to be announced. What was interesting last night was that the Microsoft propelled higher and actually moved to an all-time high. There's a little bit of divergence on the RSI on daily, but as you can see, it's really pointing up here, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. And I think we will see Microsoft moving higher in coming weeks and going into the rest of the year fairly strong. A little bit divergence on the RSI, but it stays above the rising trend line here. And there's since we are in uncharted territory, you can ask, so how do we actually figure out where to next? Well, we can always use Fibonacci, which is a guideline, I would say. It's not really it's because it's not in a straight line, so but it gives you a guideline, and room up to around 400 is not unlikely. You can see very strong uptrend here. You have the rising trend line, very steep rising trend line here, which is quite interesting. So what you would look for is, of course, break of the trend line, but prior to that, you would like to see some top and reversal pattern emerging, and we don't see that at the moment. So there seems to be more upside potential for Microsoft, and also, of course, the indices where they are a large contributor. In Europe, still range bound in most markets. DAX tried to move above the 16,210 this morning, got rejected once again. We need a close above, and we need the 60 level on the RSI to be broken to gain any further upside potential here on DAX. If it does, if we close above 16,210, well, then we are likely to see new all-time highs. Amsterdam also struggling. 281 is the level, whereas the Belgian market is really, it really has found its mojo, moving higher. Testing the medium-term falling trend line there, which is interesting. And as you can see now at the cloud to the daily chart, we are above the daily cloud here, above 3,700. Also, as indicated in my latest update Monday, that was the level to break for further upside. And now there should be room up to around 3,850, 3,900 if it can break above this falling trend line. But since these trend lines here are not the strongest one, is more than merely just guidelines, I believe it to be broken. But again, we also have the 200 moving average kind of putting a little bit lid on it here. We have the 100 weekly moving average coming down also. But for now, on the short term, we have RSI in bullish mode, and I believe we will see the Belgian market moving higher. CAC40 also still range bound, so that's 7,400 and 7,000 and a change down there. That's what you should look out for. ASML in Amsterdam came out with earnings this morning, but reaction fairly muted, a bit boring to say the least. If we look at the bigger picture, we had this descending triangle-like pattern here on the weekly. That was a bit of a consolidation, continuation, and we actually reached the potential target on that one. So maybe it needs a little bit of guidance higher. So we need a break above the 687 spot 3, a break above that for further upside, and the same here on the weekly chart. If it materializes, well, then we are looking at a 765 level. On the commodities, some interesting development last night on gold, and let's zoom out a little bit on the daily chart. It actually broke the 1963 resistance. It was a minor one, so not that strong, and you also have the 55 that add a little bit of resistance. But what happened when we move back up into the cloud is not bullish in terms of the cloud just yet. But we got RSI above 60, no divergence. I believe we will see the 2,000 level to be tested fairly shortly. At least short-term, gold has confirmed uptrend, and the medium-term uptrend is also has resumed. Silver, not really much going on there, trying to slowly moving higher, and I believe we'll see it around 26 there, around 26. Euro dollar pausing a little bit, reached the 138.2 projection, and I believe that we'll see a little bit of correction down to around 111 before it picks up again. But it seems like it's forming a bit of a top and reversal pattern. If we get a negative candle today, well, then I believe we'll see the euro dollar moving a little bit lower there in a nice little correction. Same picture on the dollar index. Could try to move back towards the now resistance at 100.68, but expected to be rejected. Dollar yen. Let's zoom out a little bit and look at the dollar yen, where we see it's finally bouncing strongly now, and I think we will see it above 140 here shortly, possibly today or later today. There could be move up to 141, possibly up to 142 and a half, around that 61 8 retracement level here. What is going to be interesting if we get up there on the dollar yen? Well, then can it break back above the 60 threshold on the RSI, or will downtrend resume? That's going to be the big interesting question. Euro-yen moving higher above the 61.8 retracement at 156, likely to test 158 here shortly. We have the RSI above 60. If it breaks above the falling trend line, I believe we will see higher levels on Euro-yen. On cable, correction is ongoing in cable. I think we could see it down to around 128, possibly lower, but it's quite a nice correction. And let's add some Fibonacci to it. So around 128, which is the 61.8 retracement, seems like a fairly likely retracement level before we will see buyers coming back in. Interesting development in Euro Sterling. If you read my update the other day on Euro Sterling, that we had this potential double bottom pattern here on the daily chart, and now it seems to be, it has been confirmed. If it closes above the 86.60 level today, which it seems like it will be, but let's see, it's not gone yet, and we have currently RSI above 60. If this is also the case at the end of the day, well, then there's potential up to around 88 in this double bottom pattern unfolding. Moving on to other interesting markets, we have the US 10-year that seems to be dropping further. Key support at 367 is the one to look out for there. Finally, I'll just point your attention to the Brent crude oil chart and WTI bouncing yesterday, and maybe that was the correction. Next couple of days will be decisive, and not even correcting 38.2 retracement, finding support at the 100 moving average, and there should be room up to around 83, possibly higher. WTI also bouncing just above the 100 moving average, could be resuming uptrend here, and there should be room up to 79.80 level. All right, that was a long one. We'll be back again tomorrow with updates on Tesla and the other financial markets. Thank you very much for listening.